Hello, inmates. It's time for our first annual recommendation episode. Can you believe we've been at this for a year? As usual, I, Bones, am going to give y'all the rundown about what's up before we jump in. So, since we release so many episodes and the length and content are so varied, we decided it would be good to have an annual episode where we all recommended some of our favorite pieces and pitched them so listeners could have some kind of place to start. Not everyone is participating because some of our members are scrubs, but here's the basics. It'll be a bit like the intro episode where we each recorded a piece and we're all giving 3 recommendations. The first is something the recommender wrote, either a scorch on the podcast or an ember on the Patreon. The second is a scorch that the recommender neither wrote nor judged for, and the third is an ember that the recommender didn't write. So, the idea is that we get to recommend one of our own pieces and 2 pieces that we loved from other authors. Other than that, it's just whatever we want to talk about, project updates, stories, etc. I'm recording this before I got everyone else's recordings, so who knows what they'll do. So without further ado, I'll kick us off. First of all, I just wanted to say that I'm so excited that you guys have been listening, and this is my little project that I harangued all of my friends to get into, so I'm glad that it's been going smoothly for a year, and I hope we keep it up long enough to actually catch up to where we are, The backlog, by the way, if we keep doing what we're doing, is going to take 7 years to get through. So, we have a lot of content, and it's been really fun actually doing something with it, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Anyway, for my recommendations. For my writing, I'm choosing to recommend my scorch from week 12 of the podcast, called Falling. I want you all to know that Paishi is mad that I'm wrecking this one because she hates it, but I love making people mad, so that's perfect. I waffled about this for a bit because I do have several, funny, cute type scorches that I really enjoy, but honestly, it just boils down to I personally like media that will haunt me, and I will think about every once in a while and just curse the person who wrote it. So I like it when my writing really evokes feelings in people. Fun fact, I have a list of all the pieces that I know have made at least one of our authors cry. Not only is this scorch the first on the list, but I am the reigning champion of making my co-hosts sad, and I wear that as a badge of honor. So, more of a pitch. Obviously, it's a sad one. It's a tragedy with what I think is a hopeful ending, but there has been some disagreement about that. And I'd say basically it's a commentary on the idea of soulmates from someone who does not really like the idea, aka me. So if you want to go listen to that one and then tell me how much you hate me in the poll, it gives me power, so I'd appreciate it. It's a longer episode, about half an hour, because all of my episodes are longer, because I'm incapable of shutting up. So, just a heads up there. The other scorch I'm recommending is one from Octo, week 223A, entitled Shall We Dance? This one is very cute. The relationship portrayed is funny, and I guarantee will have you face-palming at how bad the one guy is at picking up hints. But the reason I'm recommending it is actually because of the world building. The universe that Octo creates is so interesting. Obviously, it's just a one-shot, so she doesn't get into it too much, and there are a lot of questions. But basically, you're dropped into a world wherein the stars, planets, and other celestial bodies have some kind of corporeal form, and the setting is a big party that happens, I think, every few hundred years or something, in which the Celestials descend from the heavens and hang out with humans for the night. It's cute, it's fun, and I'm I'm actually cackling because I just looked at the poll for this week and I forgot what it was. But the poll I made was, what celestial body would you date? And the final option is, make me an otome, fool. And that one's winning. So maybe I'll harangue Octo into collabing for that someday. Listen to this episode for a sneak peek at our future celestial body otome game, I suppose. Alright, and the ember I'm wrecking is Lost's piece from week 33 entitled Ralph's Saving Ground. This one was just one that I didn't expect at all. The entire mechanic and concept were really interesting, and I can't tell you exactly what it is because the point of the piece is that the main character is kind of figuring that out, so major spoilers. The setting, though, is a hospital, which used to have a really high death rate, but 10 years ago, the name changed from General Hospital to Ralph's Saving Ground for a reason that none of the records document, and after that, it has one of the lowest death rates in the world. So it's a bit of a mystery figuring out why that is, and I really enjoyed the conclusion. It's heartwarming and kind of bittersweet. So if you have some money to drop to check out the Patreon, I would absolutely recommend reading this one. And those were my recs. I don't have any serious updates for my projects. I post most of my art on my Tumblr. If you want to see it, you're welcome to interact. I did draw the shoulder angel and devil from Red Scorch from week 224A, if you want to see those. They make me really happy. Also, the Westward Eye podcast is still coming out slowly. My episode has not yet dropped. I think it'll be out in April, but I will keep y'all updated on that. And that's all I have, I think, so keep that fire burning, and on to the next author's recs.
Hello, inmates. This is Styx. It is so crazy to me that we've already been doing this podcast for a year. Many thanks to Bones for being the backbone of this project. Pun intended. No, they're really great, and they've put in the lion's share of the work, I think. Which is not to say that other people's contributions have been small, because they have not. Red's been doing a great job with the social media, and Cricket's been working so hard on getting all of our episode transcripts. Turns out that not all of us speak in complete sentences. I'm a really bad offender of that one. It is so fun to work with this group of our friends. They're all such delightful people and delightful writers, and I'm really glad that I managed to nudge my way into this cool little tradition that we have. Okay, so without rhapsodizing any further about my friends who are just the best, y'all are jealous, I can tell, I will proceed into my recommendations. Can you kind of hear what I was saying about me being the worst offender for creating sentences on the fly that are the most difficult to transcribe? Thanks again, Cricket. Anyway, so first I'm going to recommend you one of my scorches. This one's actually an ember. I'm sorry that I'm recommending you something you have to pay to access. That's a bummer. You don't have to read it if you don't want to. But the one that I'm recommending is 228A, which is how you can find it on the Patreon. It's called You Knew What He Was. And I absolutely do not begrudge the winner of that week, because theirs was amazing. But I had a lot of fun writing that one, and I think that it has a cute little relationship between two unhinged girlies that some people might enjoy reading as much as I enjoyed writing. Next, I'm gonna recommend someone else's Scorch. This one was so hard for me. So hard to isolate a single piece that I want to recommend above all others. Like, that's impossible. And honestly, it depends so much on what mood you're in and what you want to read. A runner-up that I almost recommended, but ultimately not going to be talking about, is 218B, which is by Bones. But the one that I am going to point you to right now is 215B, which was written by Red. That one, you may remember it if you've listened to all the episodes, you may not. There are a lot of episodes. But that one is about this poor little guy who's been separated from the hive mind, and he's struggling in it in a deeply autistic way. And I think I liked it so much because it was really sincere and charming, and it treated that problem with such empathy, even though it's kind of a silly problem to be having. The struggle of being an individual recently divorced from your hive mind. Finally, for an ember that I did not write, I'm going to point you to 222B, Fate or Otherwise by Octo. This one is funny because I gave the prompt for this one, and I ended up giving the win to Bones. But it's such a good piece, and how do you choose? How do you choose? When you deliver a prompt that's perfect, and no, I'm joking. I hope you know I'm joking. But you deliver a prompt that you personally are really invested in, and then you get a bunch of perfect pieces. How are you supposed to choose? Anyways, I wanted to choose both of them, and this gives me the opportunity to do that. Bones is really good for that week. And Octo's Ember is something you should absolutely check out. It's gorgeous. This one, unless I'm completely misinterpreting it, is about a guy who's been magically transported into a book that he wrote. The prompt was about fate, and so this author turned character in his own story thinks he knows everything that's going to happen. He thinks it's all fated to come to pass, and this depresses him in this case. He gets a really nice dose of aggressive encouragement, I'll say. The depictions of the relationships in this little piece are so good. In the absence of anything else of importance to say, I will hand that off to whoever goes after me in the rotation. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might be last. Hopefully y'all get some closing comments at least, though, because this would be a really dissatisfying way to end the episode. Best of luck. Keep those fires burning.
Hello, inmates, and welcome to the 2024 Scorch Recommendations episode. Hopefully you've been getting a couple of good ones from other people, or that you will. I'm not sure where this is going to land. But this, I think, is a really fun idea, because we put out a lot of content, and it can be kind of overwhelming if you're not quite sure and you don't want to just slog through it from the beginning. So, I want to give to you my kind of 3 favorite Scorches that we've interacted with this year. Since we're not recording them in chronological order, the timeline is a little fuzzy, but that is okay. So, the very first thing that I'm going to recommend here is one that I wrote, and one So, you have heard it recorded before in this scorch. And that would be 235A. It's called Deploy the Chaos. It's the little story I wrote about a rogue who is working with some sort of mage. And the mage has the weirdest long game ever with getting into this dumb castle that involves exploding people's everything into feathers. It's a good time. It's really funny, I've been told. One of our listeners told me that they listened to it like 3 times in a row because I just kept laughing at it. And if that's not a good recommendation, what is? You know? So if you want to get some quick kicks, go check that out. Enjoy it. Let's see. I won't say it's not my usual fare. It is my usual fare because I write a lot of silly things. That's what I'm good at, apparently. Silly things. But I've got some good horror bits too that you should check out. But the Scorch that I did not write, but that I really enjoyed, because this is, at the base, kind of a group pastime that we have. It's just for fun altogether. Is Museum of Curiosities by Styx, which was 221B. Now, I chose this one because I really like the way that Styx used prose to create this kind of like low-key spooky but really confusing atmosphere. If you've ever listened to the podcast Welcome to Night Vale, we're gonna kind of get into like that kind of vibe. Like things are surreal and horrifying because they are surreal, but we're not really scared of them because they're so strange. And I really enjoy cosmic horror, so it was a good piece overall to just kind of enjoy. And I think that it really captures Styx's writing style well, so if you like that kind of stuff, then you should go and listen to all the rest of their episodes as well, because you'll have a good time, like, all the way down. The third thing that I will recommend to you today is a piece that did not win when I was judging, but was very good nonetheless. It's 236A. It's called To Cause Mishap. Now this ember was written for the prompt gallon of tar, gallon of pitch, gallon of you ending up in a ditch that I gave a while back, and Matches won it. But I also really liked this one. It's more of a schoolyard grudge gone wrong kind of thing. I thought it was really clever the way that she incorporated the prompt. And it's a nice little, kind of cute, but kind of actually really alarming thing. Like, you know those pictures seconds before disaster? That's where we're at for this little story. It kind of set a bunch of dominoes up, and then we flicked one off, and then it ended. So it's a fun little bite, basically. A horror nibble. And I think that sometimes you just want, like, 1,000 words of a little nibble, and that's all you need from a story. And that was pretty much this one. Like, I can imagine how it will roll out, but I don't need to see it happen. You know? Let's see. On the subject of personal projects in the future for you to look out for me, I am saying this right now, recorded on the air, so that I will actually do it. But I've been low-key, like, making dorky little embroidery patterns for the rules of acquisition. If you know, Ferengies. And Star Trek, things like that. And I will be putting them somewhere where people can look at them and actually use them if they so desire. Possibly my Kovi. Possibly my Tumblr. Possibly somewhere else. But if you are a fan of the fiber arts and would always have liked to have a rule of acquisition framed somewhere upon your door or your wall or whatever, or maybe a pillow even, keep your eye out for that. Maybe one of them will catch your fancy and you'll, be able to make yourself something funny. That is all I have for personal projects currently, because I'm mostly just trying to survive. But I really appreciate that you come on here and that you listen to all of our little stories and you are patient with us as we figure out this whole podcast thing. I think we're doing a great job so far. But I appreciate you trying it out with us, because we're, pretty new. And I hope that all of that good energy that you gave us goes into the next year for you. And that you have an excellent new year. And you can figure out everything that you need to figure out in that particular area. And yes, so I'm going to leave you with just keep this fire burning and have a great rest of your year.
The Cellblock Scorch is a production of Stellacore, an independent group of nerds sharing their obsessions with the world. Links to all our projects, including Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, Patreon, and Ko-Fi, can be found on our link tree, posted in each episode description. Follow us on Tumblr or Instagram to see the prompt of the day before the episode drops, and a quote from each Scorch the day after. If you would like to support our creative endeavors, you can give a one-time tip to the Ko-Fi of the writer of your favorite Scorches, or check out our Patreon. There, you can access the Scorches and episode transcripts for free, or sign up for Spark level support for $5 a month to gain access to our embers as well.